And welcome to Hannity. And tonight, the Democrats' worst nightmare is now unfolding in slow motion for all to see. The current president of the United States is now running for re-election. He's not fit to serve. Everyone on earth knows this and has known for years that Joe Biden is mentally inept, with the exception maybe of Joe Biden himself, who refuses to step aside. Now, after years of covering up all of this, the flat-out lying to the American people and maybe to themselves, top Democrats, celebrities in Hollywood, all the elites, prominent left-wing pundits are coming out of the woodwork to beg their clueless president to drop out of the race just weeks before the Democratic National Convention. Even Georgie Stephanopoulos, David Axelrod, Michael Moore, the editorial board at the New York Times, the numerous Democratic lawmakers, there's actually 8 of them, have openly doubted Joe's ability to beat Trump or even fulfill the basic duties of his job. Chuck Todd now admitting the White House insiders were telling him about Biden's struggles 2 years ago. Chuck, you never thought you should report that? Which is why he's part of the cognitive cover-up and lie cabal. And meanwhile, today, Biden's close ally, Nancy Pelosi, she flat out refused to throw her support fully behind Biden, instead ominously urging the president to think about his options this week because time is running short. He already thought about it. He said he's staying in. Now, according to Axios, even Chuck Schumer is reportedly open to dumping Biden in 2024. And now liberal Hollywood elitist, and frankly, I refer to him as an ignorant jackass, George Clooney, is calling on Joe to withdraw from the race. With a dramatic op-ed in the New York Times, he says he knew all of this at that big fundraiser weeks ago, but of course refused to tell you and the American people the truth. Another liar that's part of the cover-up. Now, keep in mind, George Clooney isn't just any far-left actor. He's one of Obama's dear and good friends. This op-ed doesn't happen without Obama's approval. And still, it's important to note that George Clooney and Chuck Todd and Barack Obama, they don't get to just override the will of the people. Democracy is on the ballot this year, right? Democracy matters. Every vote counts, right? That's what we're told, according to liberals. The very fate of democracy is at stake this election. That's why they tell us, this over and over and over again. And yet the Democratic establishment, think about this, they're now trying to disenfranchise the millions and millions of Democrats that actually went to the ballot box or mailed it in and voted for Joe Biden in their primaries. They are threatening to cut off big money, pressure Joe to step down, all while openly plotting to scheme to replace Biden with someone else at the convention. I don't know, looks like a coup d'etat to me by a bunch of Washington bosses, Hollywood liberal elites, big money elites to keep control of the White House one way or the other. They all knew that Biden was a mess for years. Don't kid yourself. Well, they just don't like that they're going to lose. That's what it comes down to, and they hate Donald Trump. All of this is the biggest threat to democracy. What they're doing is the threat to democracy. Donald Trump is not the threat to democracy. If Democrats truly cared about democracy, they would actually speak out against this mutiny. Despite all of his mental struggles that have gone on for years, Joe Biden was chosen by the people in the Democratic Party. He's the presumptive nominee, nominated by Democratic voters across the country. And as of now, he's not stepping down. Instead, Joe Biden keeps shuffling out on the campaign trail, giving it his good old best every day. Take a look.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're going to have a conversation. And the most diverse cabinet in history. I think that goes sometimes unnoticed.
I promised I was going to have a cabinet that looked like America. And it does. More minorities, more women, more labor. I'm serious. Think about it. That's who we are. That's why we're strong. We're diverse. We're strong. We got to stop looking at it like it's a problem. It's an asset.
I'm serious. Here's the deal. Cut off that feed immediately. He's not making sense again. Now, despite all the turmoil, humiliation, and hypocrisy surrounding the president, well, tonight's monologue really isn't about Joe Biden. As it stands now, Frankly, he's an insignificant figure with failed policies dictated by a radical Marxist New Green Deal extremist party. He's not calling the shots. He's not directing policy. He's not even awake most of the time. If Joe Biden makes it past the looming coup d'etat at the DNC, he'll be the candidate in name only anyway, just as he's been president in name only for the last 4 years. As CNN's Van Jones is pointing out, quote, Democrats, they are running Kamala Harris for president one way or another. Either Biden is kicked to the curb or she becomes the nominee, or Joe stays in the race and Kamala takes over when Biden is no longer functional. Now, unfortunately for Democrats, this is where the nightmare really begins to ramp up. You see, Vice President Harris, well, she's not really been vetted. We've vetted her. I have piles this big. I have a lot to share with you in the next couple of weeks. Vice President Harris is toxic, radical, extreme in every way. Even Joe Biden, at his very worst, is now polling better than Kamala Harris, and for good reason. Don't forget, she ran for president in the last Democratic primary. She didn't even make it to Iowa, and didn't make it to New Hampshire and Iowa, dropping out in 2019 after polling in the single digits. Even now, voters think Vice President Harris is unlikable. And the constant nervous laughter and the giggling vice president is quite off-putting, to say the least. And according to reports, Kamala often refuses to prepare for important events. And then when it doesn't go right, she blames her staff. Perfect excuse. Meanwhile, her public appearances are usually disjointed, confusing, cringeworthy, a lot of platitudes about the significance of the passage of time, because you see, time is passing, and we're all passing through the passage of time. And then the great love of Venn diagrams. Take a look.
The largest investment ever to take on the climate crisis, roughly $1 trillion with a T. I had to.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you.
One of the things I love are Venn diagrams. I love Venn diagrams. You need to get to go and need to be able to get where you need to go to do the work and get home. The significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time. More parents are seeing the value of educators when they had to bring their kids and said, we're not paying them nearly enough. It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day. Every day it is time for us to agree. We all believe that when we talk about the children of the community, they are children of the community.
So Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically that's wrong.
Transportation is about getting to go where you need to go. So you can go there, and you need transportation to go where you need to go. In the community where you live, where everybody lives in a community of other people in the community. When all else fails, the giggling starts, and just know that Kamala is often unburdened by what has been.
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been, you know?
What can be
unburdened by what has been.
What can be
Unburdened by what has been. Unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
Let us remain focused on what many of you have heard me say all the time. Let us remain focused on what can be, unburdened by what has been.
Joe has an excuse. What's her excuse? Now, there's more than 5 minutes of Kamala Harris repeating that line over and over again. I'm going to play it one night. But the vice president isn't just a bad politician. She is a radical far-left Marxist socialist Her record is horrendous. Her track record, awful. As a senator, she co-sponsored a bill with Bernie Sanders that would force Americans into a socialized single-payer health care system. She also sponsored a bill to prohibit drilling for oil in the Pacific and Atlantic Ocean. Brilliant. Kamala even spearheaded efforts in the Senate to pass AOC's insane Green New Deal. In 2020, 4 days, remember, after that Minneapolis police precinct was burned to the ground by those peaceful protesters that those of us with common sense called violent rioters. Yeah, that's when Kamala tweeted out this link calling on her own following to chip in, to post bail for these criminals. So Harris was clearly supporting, I think you can call it insurrection. Where's Liz Cheney when you need her? 3 weeks later, then, of course, she issued this thinly veiled threat telling Americans, take note. The rioters are not going to stop. They shouldn't stop. We're not going to stop. Take a look.
This is a movement, I'm telling you. They're not going to stop. And everyone beware, because they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And that should be, everyone should take note of that on both levels, that this isn't, they're not going to let up, and they should not.
Take note, beware, the rioters aren't going to stop. As vice president, she also praised the hateful, anti-Semitic, anti-Israel riots on the left, even as her own administration revealed that Iran is funding these so-called demonstrations. Law and order, that means nothing to Kamala Harris, so it's no surprise that her role as border czar, that has been an abject failure also. Take a look.
I want to be clear to folks in this region who are thinking about making that dangerous trek to the United States-Mexico border. Do not come. Do not come.
Now, outside of that speech and one visit to the southern border, not where it mattered, by the way, Kamala Harris hasn't lifted a finger to secure our country. Under her watch, a record 10+ million unvetted illegal immigrants from over 175 countries have poured into our country. You're paying for it in many ways. This includes a record number of suspected terrorists, gang members, rapists, murderers, other criminals, unvetted illegals from countries with terrorist ties, and from our top geopolitical foes. Americans are dying because Kamala was unable and unwilling to take action. Could you imagine what Putin, President Xi, the mullahs of Iran would do if she was president? Actually, you don't need to imagine. Here's Kamala's pathetic warning to Iran before the mullahs ultimately attacked Israel. Watch.
And what's the message to Iran?
Don't.
As President Biden said, just don't.
Exactly. One word. Pretty straightforward.
Don't? Well, they did. No one takes Kamala seriously. Our enemies will laugh at her and completely dismiss her. And by the way, doesn't she attend weekly one-on-one lunches with Joe Biden? Obviously, she knew Biden was a cognitive mess, and yet she, like so many others, covered it up. She lied regularly to you, all of you, and told the world that Joe was as sharp as ever. And just like she lied about the border being secure and closed and the economy doing great. Take a look.
The United States will continue to enforce our laws and secure our border.
You're confident this border is secure?
We have a secure border in that is a priority for any nation, including ours and our administration. We came into office during the height of a pandemic, record unemployment. And because of our economic policies, we now are reducing inflation. We have created over 14 million new jobs. We've created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs. Wages are up. And so we've seen great progress.
She needs to be held accountable for her role in this corrupt, dishonest administration and cover-up of Joe's cognitive decline. So does White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, Circle Back Jen Psaki, everybody else involved. They're once again, all of them, caught in a major lie of historic proportions. And despite her denials, Joe Biden did, in fact, see a neurologist at the White House on January 17th. Of course, we still don't know exactly why. A Parkinson's specialist has been frequently visiting Joe's White House. Still a big secret. This administration is rotten to the core. Their policies across the board have failed, and the American people, all of you, are suffering the consequences. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.